Football with Farhan and Moj, brought to you by Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance and the West Coast Auto Group. Before we get to Hawk Talk after a dismal Monday night finish down in Seattle last night, we do want to get to some NCAA talk. Another wild weekend, maybe not as wild as some of the others, but we did see three more teams lose that were ranked, including a couple of unranked teams. We've got Penn State losing to Illinois 20-18 in 9 overtimes. So crazy that the score was that low, given that they went to 9 overtimes. This game finished regulation 10-10. The two teams kicked field goals in the first 2 overtimes. Then after that, the rules have changed. You can't kick field goals anymore. They take you right down to the 5-yard line, and you're basically going for 2 at that point. So each team gets 5 attempts. None of them makes it. Then on the 6th attempt, it was Penn State came up dry, and Illinois scored. And they wind up winning. Also, a Canadian, Chase Brown, had over 200 yards rushing in this game.
20-18, 9 overtimes, just to me, it just sounds bizarre. I'm sorry, but let me throw this to you. Do you like the old rules better or the new rules better?
Well, from a television standpoint and a safety standpoint, the old rules were really difficult. You had that game a few years ago. LSU and Texas A&M went 7 overtimes. The game took literally 5 hours to finish, and you just can't do that anymore. So for both reasons, I like it. I'd actually like a compromise. I think they should go to the 10 after your first 2 overtimes and say, okay, first and goal from the 10, go, and try it that way. And maybe there's a way in between to do it, but I understand why they changed it.
What about just a good old-fashioned tie? Well,
no, we don't do ties.
There's no ties in football. Who cares? There's a tie. You used to have ties all the time.
Even in high school here in BC, we have overtime.
You can still have ties. You can go an extra quarter in the NFL and winds up a tie.
Yeah,
why can't? Why is not that good?
Nah. It's like extra innings. You're a baseball guy. We don't want ties.
Let's start
Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers, we haven't talked much about them. Why? Because they've been struggling by Clemson standards. They lost to Pitt, their 3rd loss of the season. No chance they're going to the playoff. They'll be lucky to win the ACC or even be in the ACC title game. Is Dabo Swinney's dynasty at Clemson over?
I don't think so. I really don't. For me, maybe it's just an off year. I need to see more proof of the demise of the Clemson Tigers, but I think when you have the record that they have, you're going to have some pretty good recruiting classes regardless of what you do even this year. I still think they're going to have a great recruiting class moving forward. And sometimes it maybe helps in the sense that, hey, you can offer some of the 4- and 5-star recruits the ability or the opportunity to start to say, hey, look at our team. We need some help here. And maybe as a result, you get some better recruits that way.
Well, and they don't necessarily punch with Alabama and Ohio State and Georgia for the top 3 recruiting classes year after year, but they're always in the top 10. So there's tons of 4-star and 5-star talent available there. But offensively, they haven't really figured it out. They've been banged up defensively. They haven't been elite there. But DJ Uiagalelei, their quarterback from a year ago, came in as a true freshman for 2 games for Trevor Lawrence. They just expected him to come in and play at a Heisman Trophy winning level. He hasn't done that. He's been benched. The receivers haven't gotten it figured out yet. So there's a lot of problems there, but there's also a lot of talent. Swinney also hasn't dipped into the transfer portal the way Ohio State and Clemson or Alabama and some of these other programs have. He might have to make some changes in terms of that philosophy, but there's a lot there. I don't think this dynasty is over.
No, not based on 1 year.
Meanwhile, the 4th coach this year has been fired already. You've got Matt Wells from Texas Tech, who's lost his job. That's where Cliff Kingsbury, the Arizona coach, used to coach. He also got let go from there. We've seen LSU, USC make changes. Nick Rolovich, Washington State, they made a change, but that was more vaccine related. They actually lost their game against BYU, their first game under their new coaching staff, 21-19. But why all the coaching changes right now?
I'm really trying to wrap my head around it. I mean, part of me, when I look at it from a professional level, when you bring in a coach mid-season, is you want that coach to evaluate what he has and move forward. But I mean, in these situations, are these interim coaches going to be the next head coach?
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they are. I think if the guy is going to stick around and be your new head coach, hey, you've got a leg up on recruiting right now. You've got a person who's evaluated the talent there, knows the talent, knows the system. But if he's not your new guy, it's tough.
Well, in college, they're generally not your new guy because there's so much pressure from these alumni bases to hire big. You think USC is going to hire an interim coach?
No.
You think LSU is going to hire an interim coach? That's not the way it's
Well, they had one at USC. He went to LSU and he got fired.
Well, there you go. So they're looking for big names. Those programs are going big game hunting, SC, LSU, even Texas Tech. They've got a big booster group. Washington State, maybe they wind up hiring from within. We'll see how that goes. But it's not the silly season yet. I'm surprised it's happening. But here's the thing. A year ago, with COVID and revenues down, administrations, alumni basis, they were cutting some slack to these coaches. They weren't making those decisions that early, but now all of that is gone. Full seasons, big revenues, it's all back, and now everybody's just as aggressive as they were previously.